Hi, everyone, and welcome back to OpsTalk. My name is Brian Terry. I'm a senior solution architect at Amazon Web Services, and I'm joined here by John. He's a fellow SA at Amazon Web Services and the CEO of Monty Cloud. Today, we're going to be talking about delivering well-managed apps with no-code approach. So just to set a recap, this is the third podcast in a three-part series. Our first series was achieving well-managed cloud operations in a few clicks, and we did that on Tuesday, September 29th, in which you learned how to provision your AWS resources on demand and with a clear visibility into your cloud footprint. Our next podcast in the series was optimizing server management across AWS, hybrid, and other public clouds, in which you learn how to discover, manage, and monitor your Linux and Windows servers across AWS, Azure, GCP, and on-prem. So I'm going to let Venkat introduce himself quickly, and then followed by John, and then we'll just jump right into it. John Venkat?
Thanks a lot, Brian. Appreciated the introductions. The third webinar is today, like you called out. Today we'll be talking about how to achieve excellence in CloudOps when it comes to managing applications. Thanks for the opportunity. And John, it's yours to take up.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Thanks, Venkat, for the introduction. As I said, my name is John Meyer, Partner Solutions Architect underneath the Cloud Management Tools. I work closely with Brian, and I've had the privilege of having the last two podcasts here with both of these gentlemen, Venkat and Brian. As I said, we're going to be talking about well-managed apps with no-code approach. Don't forget to drop some questions here into the chat. Also, stay tuned for the raffle at the end because you aren't going to want to miss that watch. Now, we are going to extend this probably about 40 minutes instead of their usual 30 because we just have so much to share. We don't want to rush it. That's all I have. Off to you, Brian, Venkat.
Thank you, John. Brian, should I jump in? Do you have anything else to add quickly?
Yep, let's just jump right into it so we can see this awesome product.
Great, thanks. All right, everybody. Thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it. We will be talking about how to achieve well-managed cloud applications with a no-code approach. We spoke about a couple of topics like John and Brian summarized. The first two topics were about getting full visibility into your multiple accounts and regions, then managing your cloud. The second topic was about well-managed servers, and today it's about well-managed applications. So I'm going to jump right into that. We will try to keep the format. John, Brian, feel free to jump in. We were going to make it a little bit more interactive. The topics are going to be on the screen. Happy to take questions as we move along. Feel free to interrupt me. All right, so what do we mean by a well-managed application? Let's start with that first, right? See, at Monty Cloud, we've been working closely with customers and trying to understand what does it take for them to transform their IT teams into the cloud era, if you will. What we've been learning is a cloud application or a service as a delivery to their internal or external customers is the ultimate goal of the IT team. And they want to do it efficiently. They want to do it in a way that applications and services are compliant and secure. They want to do it in a way that helps them think about the overall cost of cloud operations, not just an individual cloud bill. And of course, they want it to be resilient. However, achieving all of this requires a lot of skill set across the board because modern cloud applications are so tightly connected with the underlying infrastructure. It takes several experts to think about the multitude of services, the configuration options that come along with those services, the security, compliance, governance activities, and then the ongoing operational activities. It takes a team to put together a cloud application and service, and it takes a team to operate it on an ongoing basis. We paused and asked, how can we help? We've been observing that there is a gap in tooling, there's a gap in skill sets, and we said we're going to go try and help customers do just that, and do that without having to write much code. That's
No, Venkat, can
yeah.
I jump in there real quick? So you just said that there's a gap in skills and tooling. Do you have any more information on that? Like, what kind of gap are we talking about? Because my second part of that question is, when you say well-managed applications, are we talking cloud, hybrid, both? So I want to know, really, when you say gap in tool sets and skills, is it applying to all the above?
Yeah, yes, John, it applies to all the above. It depends on the maturity level of the cloud center of excellence in a company. It also depends on the kind of application portfolio that they have in place today, pre-cloud, if you will, that is going to have to modify to the cloud environment. So it's a multitude of things, John.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Go ahead. Keep going with that.
Okay, so let me see if I can move forward on the deck. So without much, waiting, I'm going to just jump to three topics today, right? How does a team think of delivering well-managed application, right? It starts with compliant, cost-optimized, and operations-ready infrastructure. What we mean by that is fully adopting infrastructure as code is number one to delivering number one key ingredient to delivering repeatable resilient infrastructure. To that effect, Monte Cloud has in our platform a set of standardized library of well architected blueprints using which customers can deploy most common application patterns. It could be a server based application pattern, a server and a database, maybe RDS, a serverless application pattern, or a containerized application pattern. So having standardized templates that are written with security and cost in mind is the first ingredient. Being able to support those templates with a variety of needs that arise. For example, different departments might want the same application configured slightly differently. Different environments will require changes to the underlying server configuration. For example, for a developer environment versus a production environment, the database may not be backed up in a dev environment. The server may be a smaller size. So having a standard template, but that's configurable, is an important thing. And also having automations on top of it. What we realized, John, this might be a topic where we're happy to jump in. What we realized, John, is that most common application patterns include resources that are routinely operated upon, and those resources typically take certain routine operations. For example, if it's a server, you're going to perform lifecycle operations. If it's a database, you're going to perform change configuration operations. If it is, an ECS cluster, you're going to probably do certain operations. We figured those operations can be automated, and they're already part of the templates. This way, the central IT team can be sure that when they provide infrastructure as code templates to their teams downstream, they also, on top of that, provide the required operating tasks that come along with it. That's another way to ensure that the infrastructure templates are operations ready. The third part on this, yeah, go ahead, John.
Real quick, I want to jump in there right in the very first line there. You said standardization with library of well-architected blueprints. Who's validating these, that these are well-architected blueprints? Where are they coming from to say that they are well-architected? Is it like Brian and I, as an AWS PSAs, are reviewing these, internally reviewed, and then brought into it? Like, how does that really work?
It's a great question, John. Just so we are clear, Monte Cloud is a AWS partner. We've been working closely with AWS to get our own security and best practices in place for our own platform. And we have several AWS certified solution architects and DevOps engineers. What we do is we continuously look at the well-architected framework that AWS publishes. We learn from it, we keep up with it, and we develop to those standards. We at least meet those standards, if not we exceed those standards. So the templates we have in the platform are well architected by following the AWS well architected principles.
So thank you for that clarification. So basically, you have the in-house expertise and tools to follow AWS's best practices for well architected, and that's really what I was trying to get at. Just the verbiage there, and to really identify who is calling it that is well architected, and you're following those guidelines and conforming to AWS standards. So thanks for the clarification.
Sure thing. I'll throw one more thing in there. In Monte Cloud Day 2 platform, customers can also import their own blueprints. They can request for a review, and our team can help with that. And they can publish those blueprints after we help review them into their own environment so that developers can use it.
Oh, wait a second. So I can come with my own blueprint and say, hey, listen, Monte Cloud, am I doing it right? Here, can you review this? What? And I don't want to go too much into that, but it is about well architected and well managed. How long does it take to review it and get that published into my account? Do you provide us some architectural guidance on that or redo some of it? I mean, how does that really work?
So first things first, for most common application patterns, we already have the blueprint templates in the platform. Our customers get full access to the code, so they can simply copy an existing template to achieve most of their deployment needs. So that comes along with the well-architected review. On top of that, when they make any changes, they can click a button that sends a request to Monte Cloud, and we get involved. It really depends on the kind of changes they've made and the complexities of their internal environment, but we can turn that around very quickly based on the customer's timeline.
So basically you're saying don't reinvent the wheel here. We've already got some templates ready to go for you that are well architected. Start here and let's work to it. So, all right, awesome. Go ahead, continue on.
Right, thanks. So the third part here is the guardrails and enforcing compliance rules. In the context of business, we will cover that a little bit more because achieving business context is the hard part. Cloud accounts and regions don't necessarily lend themselves directly without multiple tagging operations to bring upon a business context. So we solve that in Monte Cloud in a different way. We'll share about that. Next topic is how do you enable teams with self-service monitoring, alerting, and remediations? This is where we see this as a transfer of ownership from the infrastructure team to the application team. The first point is all about how can the infrastructure team get operations ready templates. The second point is once the application team starts using those templates, how do they be more efficient? Because efficiency means they are reducing the friction between the infra team and ops team in terms of latency. Typically that exists because configuration changes to infrastructure can be expensive, can be unsafe. So oftentimes there is a process that needs to be followed, and that process, while it's good, can also add latency. So the question remains, how does the infrastructure team trust the application team to perform safe self-service operations so they can cut back on the latency? So what we provide in this case is an ability for the application teams to perform routine operations safely with automated tasks that have been published by the infrastructure team that comes along with the blueprint that they deploy. Sometimes the application team also may need a break glass task to be performed. The infrastructure team can publish that task and enable that to be available on the application by centrally managing that task. That's another way to help the application team move fast. There is this first point I will probably show an example, John, if you get to the demo, which is how do we enable real-time event observability and ability to react to that? So our customers have been telling application owners look at a variety of metrics to provide resilience. The metrics that they observe changes based on the application's usage patterns. It could be, it could be a Black Friday sale during which an e-commerce application is going to experience a certain spike in, usage. And during that time, they want to dynamically monitor certain metrics and react differently. But it could be different in a different environment. So what we provide is an ability for our developers, without writing a single line of code, an ability to pick and choose events on top of the application they deployed, create thresholds for that event, and then say, hey, if this event happens between this threshold, then perform that operation. We provide that entire chain of reaction capability. And the reaction could be either notifying a Teams channel or a Slack channel or an SNS notification. It could be a PagerDuty ticket, or it could even trigger a ServiceNow workflow. So that entire observe and react end-to-end framework helps application administrators move fast, does not impede them by having them to go back to the infra team to request additional help. So that's another way to deliver well-managed applications. The last but not the least, providing in-context notification for the application administrators. A security or a compliance violation that basically is an application-centric, an application-specific violation can be fixed by the application administrator based on the business needs. So notifying them in the context and letting them remediate it safely is another way to enable the application teams and reduce the friction between the friction and latency between teams.
So Venkat, real quick, the well-managed applications, completely understand what you're getting at here, and then the no-code approach, and clarifying that you're not doing any type of specific code for it. You're utilizing day two operations to handle all this stuff without going in there and saying, I got a code for this resource, I got a code for this specific, correct? I mean, I just want to put those two together so everybody sees how you're being well-managed without the code that has to come with it.
Yeah, that's thank you for double clicking on that. Here's how we accomplish that. Maybe that might help. This is another way to in another way we highlight AWS native resources. For example, we leverage AWS automation service, and we leverage AWS run command service when it comes to server operations, which means we are able to leverage well written automation templates and documents and tasks that are codified for resource operations. We also publish them with some meta data on top of that as a day two task. So when customers come to the platform, they have a ton of tasks available to them that they can pick and choose and perform those operations. We also leverage one feature from automation that lets customers upload their own Python code, which could be a business logic that's their logic. They can upload that Python code into the platform and instantly convert that into a task and leverage that task to perform any operation. So there is no limit here on what customers can do with both out-of-the-box tasks and the extensibilities in the platform.
Awesome,
So
Brian.
what you're explaining.
Go ahead, Brian. Actually, I wanted to ask you a question.
I'm so excited.
All you, buddy. All you.
Yeah, so what you're explaining here, Venkat, is pretty amazing. So you're not talking about just notifying when your apps are down. You're actually talking about taking automated, using automation to fix these issues when they happen with no human action sometime, right?
That's totally right, Brian. So we've been learning from customers, right? We like AWS is focus on customers. The real-time observability, notifications, and taking actions has been a key ask from one of our customers. And we said, okay, we're going to look into that. Then we noticed there's a pattern here. Most times customers just want to do that. They just want to set up autonomous operations for well-known applications and not worry about routine things that needs to be performed. So there is a roadmap feature in our platform right now that's coming up in the next 2 weeks, which basically is going to help our customers dynamically point out an observed metric and say, go create this ticket. And they can basically say, all right, take hands off at that point. They can react to the ticket, they can trigger a workflow. So this has been a customer driven feature that helps them not only observe, but notify and react and take some predetermined actions on applications.
So my question was actually for Brian, and Brian, I'm glad you jumped right in there because I actually had a question for you. And being that you and I work closely together with a lot of this, and just talking about the center portion there, enabling application teams with self-monitoring, how critical is all this real-time remediation, and then obviously operational tasks in a day two operation?
I think it's extremely important. A lot of our customers have asked us to create solutions in which you have a response to an issue in the environment, but also remediating that item, right? Because there are a ton of things that can happen to an enterprise application that have been well documented and have a run books associated to it. So to have an event that happens and it's a known issue and to be able to remediate it quickly reduces the downtime on the end customer. And then essentially helping our customers. So it's all about, the end of the day, it's about helping that end user and having a good experience with that application.
Brian, I completely agree with you. And I have another question for you, Brian, because You and I deal at work with, landing zone and control tower. And when I see guardrails, I immediately go to that one. But now we're talking applications. Now we're talking day two stuff for your applications. So I'm thinking like this is the add-on. This is the complementary type of product for control tower and landing zone. You have your guardrails, your enforcement compliancy rules for your application. I mean, what do you think?
I think it's absolutely great. On top of that, with the no-code approach, you're kind of lowering the bar of entry into these advanced cloud operations and enabling your team to say, hey, I can use this tool for Monty Cloud and know that I'm using the operational best practices out of the box.
I agree with you, definitely. Venkat, back to you. Sorry, Brian. I had a couple questions there for Brian because I know him and I work closely with this.
No, great question, guys. See, here's the thing, right? You guys are hitting the nail on its head, right? Lowering the threshold for achieving excellence in cloud operations means everybody wins in that scenario. Customers are trying to transform as fast as they can, given all that's going on around us. There's greater pressure on IT departments to upskill, retool, and deliver cloud applications. And being able to provide an instant way to accomplish most common cloud operations and close the skill gap with a low barrier to entry so that they can innovate faster is our giant goal anyway. So it's fantastic discussion. Thanks for diving in there.
Yeah, Venkat, we have probably about 10, 15 minutes left. So let's get moving on this. And if you wanted to jump into the application, let's do that because I really want to, show some of that tidbits before we're done.
Absolutely. Let me get past this last bullet point. It's a little bit about visibility. I'm switching to the demo after this. Getting visibility into cloud applications is always hard. First of all, getting visibility into cloud accounts and regions and the footprint is hard. But an application-centric view of what's powering your application, which are the resources, what are the timeline of those resources, and who changed what in that application. Building all of that into a single context has been one of the missions that we've been working on. This again is an ability for customers to pinpoint which other applications need certain attention, and being able to go trace back who accessed what is part of the visibility story. So that's again as important if the goal is to ultimately achieve a well-managed application portfolio. So that's part of the platform as well. So let me switch to the demo environment here.
While you're switching to that middle one, multi-account cross-region, all I'm thinking is this is the add-on, the complementary to Control Tower. Now I have my account view and now I have my application view, and it just makes everything in a seamless view, a really complementary product to that.
Right. So let me log in here. John, if you want to add something while I'm logging in, getting into my demo environment, feel free. I'm going to.
You know what? Normally I have stuff to add, but I'm ready to get into the demo thing, and I'm going to put Brian on the spot here. Brian, anything to add why he's getting logged into the demo environment?
Yeah, I think it's going to be awesome when we see the demo. Like the most important aspect, what we're going to probably see out of the demo is that automated response, I guess, to these actions that happen in your environment. I'm excited to see what Monty Cloud does that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so let's do it.
I'm going to show three quick things here. One is the well-architected templates and launch configurations for it. So we've seen this before in the podcast number 1, which is a set of well-architected blueprints. Take an example here. Acme Inc. has a B2B e-commerce application. As a well-architected blueprint, the administrator wants to provide it to a developer to deploy into dev environment, and also a slightly different configuration for staging or prod environment. They can accomplish that very easily by going and say, all right, I'm going to go create launch configurations. Right? They can click here, create a launch configuration. I won't go into details here, but what customers can do is they can constrain what size of server gets deployed into dev versus staging. They can constrain which VPC the developer can deploy into, and they can also constrain visibility of every parameter here based on the business application users' needs. So they can create a launch configuration per well-architected blueprint. That's one way to already enforce some guardrails, both from a cost perspective and from compliance perspective. Okay. The other thing I will show here is tasks. if you notice this particular blueprint or this particular a blueprint deploys an application that we know has a whole bunch of tasks that are needed. So in our case, the administrator can add those tasks, such as updating the application or vertically scaling the application or creating a snapshot. When they add these tasks as part of the blueprint, again, click select add, the downstream users, when they deploy the blueprint, automatically get those tasks. This is what we mean by decorating a well-architected blueprints with custom launch configurations, custom automation operations, and including monitoring operations, right? That's one part I wanted to show. I'm going to switch to the application view here. That's okay.
As you're going to the application view, real quick question on that one. That was where the blueprints that you said, if I had my own and I wanted you to review, I can submit it to you and review. Is there any chance, either now or in your roadmap, that you actually do maybe like a cost analysis on what that blueprint is going to cost automatically? Does that?
So the great question, really good question. Cost is always a challenge. Again, what is the ultimate cost of cloud operations is slightly different than the blueprint cost that we know. So we have a way to project what an individual blueprint would cost with its default configuration as the customer chooses it, right? Okay. This does not include routine usage or ingress egress costs, but it does show that if you went with this default configuration or you change the configuration, we instantly show that this blueprint will cost you $57 a month for the target region. We do that approach. If a customer would like to get a little bit more details on both architecting the blueprints and also cost optimizing the blueprint, we certainly will be happy to help.
Okay. Continue on. Back to number 2 thing you wanted to show.
Sure. So, jumping from this provisioning template to application node, when customers deploy this blueprint from a catalog, it results in an application or a service that is the well-managed application we are talking about. So I have previously gone through one of the blueprints here and deployed an application. And keep in mind, our application owners with day 2 will be able to just work on the application. They won't get the infrastructure access or operations access. The central administrator can basically constrain and give them just the application node. That does not mean they're taking away a lot of privileges. In fact, they're empowering them with specific privileges of that application. I'm going to click this application. It's an HR application, runs in production. Seems like it has 4 alerts here. So let me click and show what we mean by monitoring and real-time actions that we can take. This application is a sample application, of course, right? It's a demo environment. What it shows is when the blueprint got provisioned, there's a set of monitoring metrics that the administrator thought will be useful. So it automatically comes to life. But the application owner, when they want to add more metrics, they can simply click add. They won't have to write code. We'll bring up all the resources that are currently powering this application that this application owner has access to. They can pick and choose any resource, select the metric that they want, and then their dashboard is now dynamic without going back to anybody else. That's one way to extend the monitoring aspects. Tasks, like I mentioned, there's a set of tasks that come along with the platform. Customers can perform those operations. There's a whole bunch of other tasks as well. They can pick and choose. Again, safely perform self-service tasks. I would like to show rules. This is where the observability comes into play, right? What we have taken here as an approach is how do we help our customers observe metrics, chain them together, and react to this metric based on conditions. This is our new feature that's rolling out. So we are very excited about this because it puts the power of control in the hands of application administrators without them, again, raising tickets back to infrastructure administrators. For example, this application, there's a bunch of rules have been added here. So notify the ops team and scale the application when certain instances are critically low. So what we can do here is select a set of conditions that says, hey, if the instant count goes less than 2 and your CPU utilization goes greater than 85%, then perform this particular operation, which is send the notifications into the team's channel and execute this task that I have set up. So this gives a framework for customers to say, hey, let me choose a metric and a condition and chain some conditions together. Let me set some reactions together and step back, because this is now a self-managed application for most common things I expect for things to happen. I can also
All right,
add
real
more
quick,
rules.
Venkat,
Yeah.
I gotta jump in there. Brian, when I first read that, no, leave that open actually, because that's, so Brian, when you look at that, notify the ops team, I'm like, okay, it's just a notification, but actually the second part is where I see the no code and the value of it. What do you think there? I mean, okay, I notified, but I just want to be notified, now fix the issue so I don't have to go there and do it and I can work on it. I mean, what's your thoughts here?
Yeah, absolutely. I say in a few clicks, you can have a automated response and notification system to some of your most critical apps.
And handle it automatically. That's I like that. When I first saw notify, I'm like, yeah, I want to do something with it, but actually the value of perform the following actions is the, awesome there, and just allowing my teams to just keep continuous on.
Yeah, that is the idea, right? This kind of putting the power back in the application administrator's hands. Let me click this and showcase. If I can add a rule here. Sorry, I just added a rule, so I'm going to scroll down here. I'm going to name this rule, right? Just show and tell a little bit. Let's say this is my demo rule I'm just creating. What this helps customers is they can pick any event, right? We are an event-driven platform. We are built in the cloud as a SaaS platform, so we are tightly coupled with every event that happens in the customer's accounts. So they can pick and choose, let's say, if any time an instance was started for this application, or let's say they pick a combination. Let's say in order scaling group, the CPU utilization condition is basically between on a particular date. If the date is equal to this, let's say the day is equal to Monday, and you notice something weird is happening with the auto scaling group, you can perform an operation which says execute a task. Could be any automated task in the platform, or you can upload, remember, your own Python script that basically becomes a task. You can send a notification into a Slack channel or a Teams channel. You can create a ticket, jump into PagerDuty integration or Jira integration in the platform. You can create a ticket automatically for that, or you can trigger a ServiceNow workflow. Some of this is coming in the platform. For example, ServiceNow workflows integration is coming in the platform, but you get the idea. We built the framework to help customers pick and choose what they want to monitor, when they want to monitor, how they want to react. So there is no limit for them to continuously automate away their pain points and provide resilience back to their teams. Okay, so that's another feature I wanted to show. One more feature, again, we're talking about application centricity, John, if you don't mind. We talk about files aspect. This is again a feature we're excited about. Customers like to keep some of their code, files about their application in one place. Again, this spawns a whole bunch of problems for the ops team versus the infra team. There's an S3 bucket conversation that to be had. There is, data sovereignty issues to be thought about. We made that easy. An application owner can simply create files and store files that are relevant to their application and have that in a single place, which gives the infra owner and application owner the peace of mind and decentralized peace of mind, if you will, to store things that matter to the application in one place. Right? That's another set of features we've been working on. There are a couple of more things, but I will pause here, John, because there is always more demos we can do later. So back to you and Brian for any questions.
No, I don't have any questions. I mean, I could ask questions all day on the platform. I think there will be a time that we need to do like just an hour-long podcast here, not a demo, but more or less just jump into it and take some of the questions that we have and like, okay, how do I start from beginning? Where do I start? Okay, where are the files stored? How do I add a policy? And really walk through some of the aspects. And we can spend all day on that. I'm actually going to stop asking questions and pass it over to Brian. Any questions or round it out here?
Yeah, just to recap. I mean, I think what Venkat showed is a way to manage your applications, to notify on them, and also have advanced remediation actions automated, essentially remediated actions done in just a couple of clicks, and enabling your cloud team to have the best standards and architecture out of the box when they just move to the cloud. And I think this is wonderful.
I think that's a really good.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Venkat.
No, that is a good summary, Brian. Thanks.
Well, I think you were echoing my thing. That's a really good summary I wanted to say on that one. I do have a question. I know I said I didn't have any. We're talking no code approach here, but we know every nowadays that we all have code. We have a certain thing that we'd like to do. Can I bring my own code and customize some things in some way and have that task pull that code and do some?
Absolutely, absolutely. So there are three things I will call out on how the platform is, extensible. One, customers can bring their own infrastructure as code templates. They can simply go and import it and then make it available. Two, routine tasks. If they have codified their own tasks, either in Python code or they created their own automation documents, they created a Lambda function, they can wrap it and then bring that to perform routine operation. So the platform now gets more tasks that they can extend. That's the second way to bring your own code. The third way is basically extensibilities, right? Customers sometimes want to monitor things that are third-party monitoring tools, right? We heavily rely on CloudWatch here, and we also are aware that customers can use other monitoring tools. So they can pipe those monitoring notifications back to the platform, and the platform will behave the same way. So the notifications coming in basically is an extensibility of code at the end of the day. So customers might want to have their own monitoring options as well. So in a way, it's flexible to go, provision, flexible to go operate, flexible to go monitor. All three are entry points for customers to bring their own code in.